Federal politics has also been preoccupied this week by Australia's energy supply, prompted by a crisis in South Australia, where almost 100,000 households in Adelaide sweltered through a blackout last night. It's been a fierce summer and there's no end in sight, with record hot weather expected in much of the country over the weekend. South Australia's had problems recently with the predictability of its electricity supply, and that's causing ripples of anxiety elsewhere, turning into a serious national political issue. Alex Mann reports from South Australia.
Today, once again, the streets of Adelaide were wilting under 40-degree heat. But for one local business, things have never looked better.
Our sales of generators have probably gone up 7 to 8 times what we would normally do in a month. Well, since the blackout, we've been selling a whole range of generators, from the small through to the big, generators like these for smaller stuff, right through to the big generator to run a whole household.
For 6 months, blackouts and radical power price spikes have plagued South Australia and put the focus squarely on the state's reliance on renewable energy. While debate has raged over the merits of the state's energy mix, sales at Jeff Sanders' generator store have gone through the roof.
People are worried. I think that's probably the biggest thing that we've seen when people come in. They're annoyed, but a lot of people have, in the suburbs particularly, may not have been affected immediately, but they know that it's going to happen in the future, so they have been buying to cover themselves for future outages. And then we've had people in the hills that have had power out for 3 or 4 days and they've just got sick of it, so they've bitten the bullet and bought a generator.
At 6:30 last night, as Jeff's customers reclined in air-conditioned comfort, the power went out again.
SA Power Network says it's been instructed to begin load shedding because of a lack of available generation.
But this was no storm outage. The sun had set, the wind was barely blowing and power flowing through from Victoria was at capacity. The state's handful of gas-fired power stations didn't meet the excess demand.
As it happens, the best and most modern of those gas generators, Pelican Point, hasn't been running much at all in the past 12 months. And it didn't run at full capacity yesterday.
To prevent a total collapse of the grid, the network operator AEMO instigated rolling blackouts. It took just 45 minutes for power to be fully restored, but the blame game from this latest blackout dominated question time in Canberra today.
They have failed to deliver security, the security of energy that Australians need. And they've done it in South Australia in spades. We can see it. Yesterday, 41 degrees, no power. That was great. What a great achievement. Businesses are investing millions of dollars in backup generators. That's the great achievement of the Labor Party's energy policy in South Australia.
While the federal government blames South Australia's reliance on wind power, the state has its sights set firmly on the market operator, AEMO, and how, when the state needed power the most, its Pelican Point gas plant wasn't even operating at full capacity.
One thing that's absolutely clear to us is that South Australia is now on its own in relation to the national electricity market. It's on its own because the National Energy Market Operator is unable to run a system which can guarantee us security of electricity supply. South Australians are not prepared to put up with being ridiculed and have the finger pointed at them by a federal government that's abdicated its responsibilities.
I think there is some responsibility that has to be laid at AEMO's feet, or at least looked into, and I'm surprised the federal government doesn't focus a little more on that.
South Australia says it's at the mercy of a commercial market that favours generators over power users when energy is scarce and prices climb. As temperatures soar across Australia this week, AEMO is now warning of possible blackouts in coal-dependent New South Wales, as demand there also outstrips supply.
We've tried to retrofit a market to suit a system that's not delivering us cheap, affordable power, even though it's there. And under any definition, South Australians are feeling the full brunt of that failure, and that failure will spread to the East Coast. And I think the people of New South Wales are about to experience what load shedding is like.
With conditions in South Australia nearly identical to yesterday, There are fears the power could cut out again. In the short term, this problem is out of your hands, isn't it?
Well, it's not in our hands at all. It's in the hands of the market. I don't think there will be load shedding tonight. I think there is sufficient generation in place to meet demand. The market operator has instituted a LOR2, which is a level of reserve, lack of reserve, Schedule 2. The market will meet that.
How can you guarantee that if, as you say, you have no control over being able to dictate, for example, to a gas-fired generator to switch on?
I can only do that in a case of emergency. But from looking at the availability tonight, I think we'll be fine tonight. The problem we've got...
In theory, we should have been fine last night too.
That's right, if everyone followed the rules.
So how can we guarantee that we're going to be following the rules
I don't
this time?
think AEMO will make the same mistake twice.
Late this afternoon, the Australian energy market operator released a statement confirming it has now ordered the owners of Pelican Point Power Station to run at full capacity and meet demand.
This is the first meeting of the Energy Committee of the Cabinet. Now more than ever, Australians need affordable and reliable electricity, affordable and reliable energy as we meet our emissions reductions targets.
As the government's senior ministers met in Canberra today, it's clear this is a debate that's got a long way to run.